I want to start this video off by saying that I am not in any way, shape, or form outraged about the stuff that I'm about to discuss. I just really love Mortal Kombat, and this is just some interesting changes that they've made to the franchise, and especially to like the progressives that might stumble upon this. I want to assure you, especially when I'm discussing the costumes for the females, it's all good. I'm in no way, shape, or form a misogynist. I love women.
Supreme victory!
MK11 just came out recently and I've been enjoying it quite thoroughly, except for the fact that I feel like something's wrong with my game because Chronica in the story was absolutely obliterating me. Like, I was seeing people, I was watching their playthroughs, and I was thinking, okay, she was just standing around getting her ass kicked. But for some reason, in my playthrough, if you make one mistake, she will absolutely destroy you and not just be unrelenting like a very hard AI with rubber band. Like, seriously, I had more trouble with her than I did fighting Dark Eater Madeir in DS3. Just to give you some type of context, because, you know, people always tell you to get good, but it's like, I can whoop DS3, and I was having some trouble with that, so I was kind of scratching my head. But I digress. Is Mortal Kombat becoming woke? That is the question that a lot of people are asking. I would say overwhelmingly the answer would be no, because for the most part it's still the same beloved Mortal Kombat that we all know and love. There's been a few tweaks here and there, especially when it comes to the gameplay, the fighting styles, and I think it's for the better, actually. I actually really like the fluidity, and I think there's a lot of additions that are really cool, and I appreciate very much so. But there's little tidbits here and there that makes it obvious that there is some, you know, progressive people in NetherRealm Studios. They're just sprinkling their political ideals on it just a little bit. You know, nothing that's extremely jarring or enough for you to want to like throw the game away, but there is some stuff in there that just kind of makes you either laugh because it's so silly or just roll your eyes because you're like, come on, man, please keep your politics out of my video games. So the first thing I noticed is woke Jax, and I actually discovered this on my own because the first people that I beat the stories with was Scorpion, of course, because he's just the shit by default, and then Sonya Blade, which I really like Sonya, and I think I'm actually gonna main her regardless of Ronda Rousey's horrible voice acting.
Cut this shit! You'll kill us whether we fight or not!
And then I beat it with Jax because he's another one of my favorite characters, because I mean, just come on, like, just look at him. Look at who doesn't want metal arms like that? And for the few of you that don't know, MK11 is completely infused with time travel. It's actually been for the past 3 games, and it's reached a fever pitch in this game. And so a lot of people's endings are all gonna have with like different timelines and stuff like that. And this is what Jax had to say in his.
My family and I have lived the American dream. But most people who look like me haven't had that chance. I owe it to them to put things right. And I'm not waiting centuries for people to get woke when I've got the power to speed things up.
The dialogue is incredibly cringy. Using the word woke just pisses me off. I never liked it. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. But I will say, I'm not like mad at the fact that, oh, somebody would want to end slavery. Like, I get it. I get that. I'm gonna take this opportunity to do something like this. When you think about it, like, how many people, if they had the opportunity, they would go back and
kill Hitler?
So I'm not mad at the choice that they made for him. It's just the wokeness thing, especially for Jax, like, and how old he is. There's no way in hell he would ever use that type of language. That is reserved for young black people, for the most part. You know, obviously there's a lot of young white people that, you know, very, very far left-leaning that want to be woke. You know, they want to appease like everyone that's a minority and stuff. But people that are going to be around 50 or anywhere around that are not the ones saying woke, man. Just like they're not saying lit or any other stupid lingo that's going around. Now, this next little thing I stumbled upon on Twitter, and I am so happy I found it. Essentially, what they're trying to do is associate Trump with Shao Kahn. Believe it or not. So one cool thing that fighting games do is that they'll have a little bit of back and forth banter when you're about to face off against somebody, especially if they know each other. It gets even more personal, and it's really cool. So the thing that happens with Shao Kahn and the Collector's a new person that I just think is a complete waste of space. I am not fond of the Collector at all. You know, maybe you guys like him, but I think he's trash. So when they meet up, this is one of the exchanges that they have.
For 25 years, you've remained loyal.
You are the one true Khan.
Let us make Outworld great again.
Make Outworld great again. I love it. It's one of those things that absolutely backfires. Obviously, yeah, in the world, Shao Kahn is just evil and maniacal and stuff, and then they want to associate that with Trump. I understand what they're trying to do, but see, it's such a stupid thing to do because Shao Kahn is one of the coolest characters in the Mortal Kombat universe. Like, he's one of my absolute favorite characters. I paid $100 for this motherfucker because he's that much of a pimp. And now you want to associate that extremely badass character with Trump? Not a good look if you're not a fan of him. Because the people that are fans of him, they absolutely love that.
Little loser Liu Kang, you sound like a turkey when you do your fighting moves. Low energy. Shao Kahn 2020.
So there was quite a few people complaining about this next bit of wokeness. I saw some YouTube videos, I saw a lot of reactions on Twitter and in forums and whatnot, and I quite frankly didn't really care, especially because when it came to MKX, I really liked the direction that the women were looking in. I liked their costumes and their designs, because in MK9, a lot of them were kind of carbon copies. They all had these nice big thighs, these abs of steel, and then massive titties. They were so insanely big. And don't get me wrong, yeah, that shit's hot.
Oh, that's hot.
But I don't need all of the women to look like that. I mean, it's just a little silly. So I pretty much forgot that people were even complaining about all that stuff. And then when I started playing the game, I really started to notice, I'm like, oh yeah, a lot of women are covered up. Not just like, oh, desexualized, like they have extra clothing on that, like they're almost all the way covered up. I wasn't mad or anything, but it did make me curious. It made me think, well, how come they're covering them up so much more when they already did a great job in MKX? I think that they're perfectly fine in MKX. So there's got to be some sort of reason for this.
Get woke.
Steve Barron, NetherRealm's art director, had this to say on the subject. Our character lead, Brendan George, has been a breath of fresh air of just introducing new ideas. Our design is just getting more mature and respectful. You're not gonna wear a bikini to a fight. You're just not gonna be showing so much skin. I think it's just what the game is about. You're gonna be in the fight for your life, and you're just not gonna be wearing so much scantily clad items. To me, that doesn't really make sense, because in MKX, they were already not scantily clad. Like, the women weren't super sexualized anymore, and I didn't see anybody complain about this whatsoever. It just seems like there was more of a push in MK11 to fully clothe them, infinitely more than the men, and that was the thing that kind of got weird to me. I'm like, oh, what was the reasoning behind this? Because if you look at the men, and if you look at some of their alternative costumes, for example, like Baraka, or you just look at Kotal Khan or something, they are infinitely more sexy than the women. And so we have the first Mortal Kombat game where the men are sexier than the women. I mean, Jesus Christ, look at Kotal Khan in his chest, man. Those are some fantastic pecs. Like, I'm envious. I'm not gay, but sometimes I wish I were. So my point is, they already desexualized the women in MKX, and no one really had a problem with it at all. So what is the reason for clothing them even more? Like, some of the designs that I'm seeing, they're kind of like, it's not about them, oh, they need to show more skin or not, but it's almost like, well, that doesn't even look very appealing at all. Like, say, I'm looking at Jackie, who I actually really like her character, and Cassie, and I'm like, I feel like their characters look like those armors in Mass Effect back in the day. You know, the first one where they just weren't that good. They were still figuring shit out. But one thing I want to point out is not every woman in that game is fully covered from head to toe. Even though it's not a big deal, it is a little bit concerning because, you know, this era of wokeness and ultra progressivism, trying to be progressive at all costs, sometimes it turns into regression. Like, it almost seems like, to a certain point, like they're covering up so much, it's almost like, whoa, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to please Middle Easterns? Are you trying to abide by Sharia law or something like that? Because in my opinion, the way that I think feminism works is women are supposed to be liberated, and they can wear whatever the hell they want, and they can be sexy, and especially in a video game where it's just fantasy, where like this dude's kind of talking about, oh, wanting to be a little bit more realistic and not be scantily clad in the fight of your life. So I'm like, the type of moves that these people do, like almost every move will kill them. Like every special move would kill somebody immediately. I think it's totally fine to have some sexy stuff like they've had in the past. You know, like I said, like I showed you, that men have some pretty good looking stuff, you know, where they're showing a lot of skin. So I don't see why the women can't. Like, if we're gonna do it like a level playing field and say women are equal, they can do whatever the hell they want. Like, I think there should be some variety. But hey, if you don't want to put that in your game, that's totally fine. I just think it's a little bit weird to just adhere to this like, oh, we're being more mature, therefore women have to be more clothed. I think it's kind of the wrong direction to head in my opinion, of course.
Okay, USA.
So out of all the ones I just talked about, this is the only one that actually does bother me. Every single one of you know what the okay hand gesture means. It just means things are a-okay, everything's cool. And then when you put it in this direction, you know, and you put it below the belt, you try to get somebody to look at it as a game, and if they do, you get to hit them. It was first introduced, to my understanding, in Malcolm in the Middle, and I remember it quite vividly because it became so popular, everyone in my middle school was playing it. I can't believe I'm explaining this again. 4chan trolls a lot of people into thinking that the okay hand gesture is a symbol for white supremacy, like it's like a W and a P or something like that. A lot of people took the bait. They took it so much that now it's gotten out of control. You're getting the okay hand gesture banned from certain games, and that's exactly what happened to Johnny Cage. So Johnny Cage used to do the circle game. And then some people notice he doesn't do the okay hand symbol anymore. Now he flips you off. So somebody on Twitter asked the senior user interface artist of NetherRealm Studios, Dani Syed, I don't know if I said your name right, sorry, whatever. But somebody asked him like, hey, what's the deal? And he replied, Nazis. Nazis. This okay hand symbol being spooky and scary is getting out of control. We already saw Blizzard freak out about it.
그럼 저희가 이제 조합 같은 거나 새로운 전략을
And I absolutely was not expecting NetherRealm to freak out about it. That's just weird. When you have this game that is just so brutal and violent and that's just done all these crazy things, it's like, oh, it's too, okay hand gesture is too extreme, bro. So replace it with a middle finger, which is universally known to be offensive. So there you have it. Overall, Mortal Kombat is still Mortal Kombat and it's still very fun. I enjoy it quite a bit. There's a lot of people that are mad about the woke stuff. For the most part, I don't give a shit except for the okay hand gesture, obviously. And there are some problems that they have apolitical in the game that they're patching. But that's pretty much the standard with games now. It's all about just throwing shit out there and we'll fix it later. You know, I hate that, but doesn't look like it's gonna change anytime soon. But what do you guys think about this situation? Has any of this stuff like annoyed you enough to not play it? Have you played it? What do you think about the game? Let's discuss this. I'm actually really curious to hear what you guys have to say in the comment section below. So thanks for watching, guys. Please like this, share it if you think it's chill or something like that. And I want to give a big shout out to my mega sexy patrons. I appreciate you guys very much. So if you want to support me, all my links are in the description. And that's it. Have a wonderful day.
Practice one first.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. Like I kind of touched you.
Okay.
Get that slap, like harder slap. One more.